The night my sister disappeared, snow was falling over our little house on the edge of Abdon Woods. The night she came back, 5 years later, the sky looked the same, quiet, gray, and merciless. When Brianna vanished in 2008, the town searched for weeks. Every newscast showed her crooked smile, the birthmark on her shoulder, and the pale blue hoodie she wore that morning. I was 9 years old then, hiding behind my mother's legs as police lights turned our kitchen windows red and blue. When she returned in 2013, I was 14 and I wanted to believe the nightmare was finally over. But I was wrong. It was just beginning. After Brianna vanished, my mother changed. She pulled me out of school. She boarded every window shut with plywood. She threw away our computer, then smashed her phone with a hammer. She said the world was full of monsters and that one of them had taken my sister. The police called it an abduction. Mom called it the work of the wolves of Abdon, eight-legged demons that could disguise themselves as humans. I was a child. I believed her. She kept me locked inside the house except for grocery trips and Sunday sermons at a little wooden church on the hill, led by Pastor Joseph Calder. He preached about sin, purity, and obedience with a calm voice that made people tremble. Every Wednesday night, she attended his ladies' Bible study, leaving me locked inside with no way out. Those were the longest nights of my childhood. One Sunday after class, my teacher let us play outside because we'd memorized all our prayers. A boy named Ben dared me to sneak through the back gate into the woods to find a berry patch. We never found berries. We found a man. He was tall, pudgy, balding, his jacket stained with grease. When he smiled, his teeth were yellow and sharp. "Afternoon, boys," he rasped. "You seen a man named Joel Calder around here?" We ran. I don't remember how long, only that my throat burned and my heart felt ready to burst. When Mom found out, she locked me in the cellar all night. "You could have been taken," she screamed. "The wolves are out there." That night, curled in the dark with nothing but a blanket, I whispered Brianna's name over and over until sleep finally came. 5 years later, a young woman was found wandering a highway outside Bennington. She was filthy, starving, but alive. She said her name was Brianna Mitchell. DNA confirmed it. When I saw her at the police station, I ran into her arms. She smelled like soap and hospital disinfectant. "Hey, little man," she said softly, our old nickname ritual. "Then tell me," I asked, "what was the name of my imaginary dog?" She smiled through tears. "Doug, the pug Dad never let you have." That was all it took. I believed. Mom hesitated. She stared at Brianna like she was staring at a ghost or worse. But she agreed to let her stay. Brianna was 18 now. She spent her days quietly moving through our house like someone studying a map. Sometimes I caught her staring out toward the woods for minutes at a time, her fingers wrapped around Grandma's square locket. At night, she'd make hot chocolate with cinnamon and nutmeg the way we used to and bring it to my room. We'd sit by the window, watching the tree line fade into darkness. "Let's tell ultimate secrets," I said one evening. It had been our childhood game, confessing truths no one else could know. I went first. I told her I'd stolen one of Dad's keys before Mom locked them all away, and that I hid it in my underwear drawer beside a walkie-talkie my friend Ryan had given me. "That's a good secret," she said. "Now it's my turn." But she didn't speak. She just stared into her mug until the cocoa stopped steaming. Then she stood up and left. The next night, I tested her again. "Do you remember when Dad hit that cat with his car?" She frowned, then laughed. "Nice try. That never happened." "Correct answer." I relaxed. She added, "And you and Ryan used to play that silly game, the Blackbird Nights. You said the bird eating from your hand meant you were chosen." Another correct detail. My doubts slipped away. But 2 nights later, I woke vomiting violently. My head spun. My throat burned, and I could barely stand. I didn't think much of it until I heard Mom's voice through the walls. "That thing is not my daughter," she hissed over the phone. I froze. When Mom's light went out, I crept toward the kitchen. I hid under the table, waiting to sneak back to bed. A hand landed on my shoulder. It was Brianna, wearing boots streaked with mud. "What are you doing up?" she whispered. "I could ask you the same thing." She smiled faintly. "Just getting a glass of water." We tiptoed back to our rooms, but as she closed her door, I couldn't stop staring at the green grass stains on her soles. There hadn't been rain for weeks. The next Wednesday, Mom dragged Brianna with her to church and locked me inside alone. Ryan came over through the cellar door. He'd brought his new iPhone. "Dude," he said, "did you hear? They found a dead guy in the woods. Stabbed like 70 times. Look." We scrolled through the local paper. The police said the body was so mutilated it looked like ground beef. Ryan grinned nervously. "Your mom still talk about those wolves?" I nodded. "Maybe one of them's back." He joked. I didn't laugh. That night, when Brianna made cocoa again, I pretended to drink. When she left the room, I poured it into a plastic bag and hid it under my pillow. Then I waited. I heard her footsteps creak toward the laundry room. The trap door clicked open. I slipped on my coat and followed. The moon lit the woods in dull blue. Brianna's flashlight bobbed between the trees. I kept my distance, stepping where she stepped, holding my breath each time she paused. When she disappeared behind the birches, I hurried forward and heard it. A scream. Hi. Human. Desperate. Then another. Lower. Gurgling. Animal. I ran until I tripped over roots and smashed my face on the frozen ground. When I looked up, I saw the creek bed and Brianna standing by a boulder, talking into a pit in the earth. "Remember New York? When Dad took us to Broadway?" She called into the hole. A voice answered, deep, distorted, echoing up from the darkness. I couldn't make out the words. "Mary Poppins." Brianna said, "That's right." My chest tightened. That was the answer to one of my secret tests. Then she said, "I've looked everywhere. It's not in the house. I'll check the church next." Moonlight shifted, touching her face. Her coat was smeared with blood. I backed away, trembling, until my foot struck something soft. I looked down and screamed. The man from the news lay sprawled in the leaves, his body butchered into ribbons. The next morning, I went to Pastor Calder. His office smelled like dust and peppermint. "She's not my sister," I said. "She drugged me. She sneaks out. She talks to something in the woods." He listened quietly, nodding. "Do you recall my sermons about the wolves of Abdon?" he asked. I nodded. He stood, opened a safe behind his desk, and removed a small plastic box filled with pills and vials. "Your sister has been changed," he said. "You must save her. Mix this holy powder into her drink. It will drive the demon out." I knew it was poison, but I took it, because I didn't know who else to trust. That night, I told Brianna I wanted to make the hot chocolate myself. I stirred milk, cocoa, cinnamon, and nutmeg on the stove, just like she did. I filled 2 mugs green for me, red for her, and slipped the powder into the red one. When she came in, her smile was soft. "Remember the secret question I told you? The one you'd ask if you thought I wasn't really me?" I nodded. "I told you I looked like a girl, but I wasn't. My real name is Garrett." I froze. It was the same thing she'd told me years ago, before she vanished, the secret no one else knew. I knocked over her mug deliberately, spilling it across the counter. "I'm sorry," I said. "Here, take mine." Her eyes glistened. "Thank you, Ty." Headlights flared outside the window. "Almost forgot," she said. "Mom said you can have a sleepover at Ryan's tonight." I hesitated. She'd never allow that. Brianna smiled. Do you want to or not? I wanted to. So I packed my bag and slipped into the car waiting in the driveway. At 2 a.m., sirens wailed. Ryan and I ran to the window. Across the valley, our house was on fire. Flames devoured the roof, turning the night red. They found the bodies the next morning. My mother and Pastor Calder. Both had been stabbed repeatedly before the blaze. And Brianna was gone. 14. The years after, Ryan's foster parents took me in. They treated me like one of their own. I finished school, became an accountant, moved to Boston, but the nightmares never stopped. Sometimes, I'd wake at 3 a.m., certain that someone was whispering my name from under the floorboards. Other nights, I'd dream of Brianna's voice echoing from that pit. Was she the killer? Was she the victim? Had I poisoned her without knowing? I needed answers. A month after the fire, I returned to the woods alone. The ashes were cold. The trees were silent. I followed the creek bed until I found the boulder where I'd seen her. The pit was still there, half collapsed. At the bottom lay a folded piece of paper sealed in plastic. I kept it for years before I found the courage to open it. Inside, written in shaky handwriting, "We are free now. Don't believe what they tell you. Wolves can wear collars." In 2019, a rumor online caught my attention. A diner outside Hudson Valley had hired a new waitress who looked exactly like Brianna. When I walked in, the world stopped. Behind the counter was a young woman with long brown hair, a crooked nose, and familiar eyes. She saw me, smiled, and whispered my name. Then she called to the man working the grill. He turned in. I saw the same eyes reflected back. "Garrett," she said proudly. "This is my brother." Over cold coffee and trembling hands, the truth spilled out. Back in 2008, after Brianna confessed she wanted to live as a boy, Mom told Pastor Calder. To him, it was blasphemy. He preached purity, submission, and obedience to men. He convinced my mother that her daughter was possessed. They drugged Brianna and locked him in an old root cellar by the creek, the pit I'd seen. Then they charged men online to teach her a lesson. Brianna survived 5 years down there. Gigi, a foster girl who once stayed with Ryan's family, had been Brianna's closest friend and first love. When she turned 18, Gigi decided to act. She altered her teeth and nose, tattooed a fake birthmark, and claimed to be Brianna found alive. The DNA test used a strand of Brianna's hair she'd kept in the locket. Mom and Pastor Calder knew she was fake, but they couldn't expose her without revealing the real crime. While living with us, Gigi planted a hidden camera in Calder's office during Bible study. She caught him opening the safe, the same one where he kept the poison and the keys. She used that information to free Brianna from the cellar. Then they killed the men who had hurt him. Then they burned the house. When they were done, they disappeared. New names, new lives. Garrett finally living as himself. I sat in that diner, staring at them, two people who'd endured hell and come out whole. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. Garrett smiled sadly. "Because you deserved a normal life. Someone had to walk away clean." He slid the folded note back toward me. "Keep it, for the record." Then they left, hand in hand, into the morning sun. I drove home in silence. For years I'd believed in monster eight-legged wolves that hunted in the dark. Now I knew the truth. The wolves had human faces. They hid behind sermons and family photos, behind words like love and salvation. And maybe the only way to survive them was to become one. I still don't know if I forgive what Gigi and Garrett did. Maybe I never will. But every time I see a missing person flyer stapled to a lamppost, I remember their note. Wolves can wear collars. If you've stayed with me this far, tell me what you think. Was justice served? Were Gigi and Garrett heroes or murderers? When faith turns violent, where does redemption end and revenge begin? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about the thin line between belief and control, and the price of silence in the face of injustice. Because sometimes, the scariest monsters aren't hiding in the woods. They're preaching from the pulpit and tucking their children into bed.